Hi Neeti, how are you?
Hi, Kalyani. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well and I'm super excited to have you. I've been a biggest fan of your work, your art, and your writings as a
Oh,
blogger and as a mountaineer, basically. So, big fan of all your work, and it's a privilege to
thank you
have
so
you on
much.
the
That is extremely flattering. And I'm really excited to be here because I've never done this before. So you're basically introducing me to new things, which I'm really excited about. Kind of nervous. I hope it goes well.
I'm sure it's going to be great, and I think everyone's going to love this because, I just have to give you a word and you have so much to share about it. You have read so much, you have traveled so, and I think that experience everyone's looking forward to hear. So, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
So, just for our listeners, little introduction. I'm not going to go into formal introduction, but about you, you read a lot, you travel a lot, you write a lot, you're an artist, and you're climbing mountains right now as a profession. So,
Yeah, that
you
pretty
have a
much
unique
sums
job.
it.
But you're not a usual mountaineer like the other people. You are someone who writes about it, and your writing
Right,
is something that inspires others to even try to plan these particular treks or mountain expeditions or something like that.
right,
So you work with
right,
Bickett Adventure, and you are
right,
part of their marketing, and you write blogs on
right,
their website, which I have read a lot.
right.
So yeah, so
Thank you.
and it's really beautiful. Like you literally have a talent to paint a picture with your words. So that's really rare and incredible. And
That's
also,
good to
such your
know.
pictures that you paint. Yeah. So let's dive little deep into your journey so far. How did you start into this profession as a writer and as a mountaineer, both combined?
Both combined. Okay. So both individually started at different times. I've always been writing because, like we spoke about it before as well, I needed a medium of expression because I'm not the most outgoing, extroverted person, and verbal communication is not my go-to medium for expression. So I needed like to find different things. So writing was one of them. So I've always actually been writing. And climbing mountains. Well, I used to do it. So my family was a lot into like, traveling to the mountains, etc. So every year we used to take one vacation to the Himalayas, and like those memories form the core memories of my childhood. Like, just the family spending time together in the mountains, just each one's quirks, like, so just all of that. And basically learned to climb on a mountain, which is a story I like to tell as well. So yeah, both of these started
Tell
at
the
like
story.
different times. Oh, I mean, there's no story as such, but basically, when I was 10 months old, my family was traveling to Gangotri and Gomukh, and that is when I took my first steps, like on a glacier. So that is, that's basically the story. So, yeah, so I mean, I've always been outdoors with my family or without. So that's where the interest sort of came from. And then I had enough opportunities to build on that or through the course of my life. But I never actually knew that there is an intersection for writing and climbing mountains or anything like that. I did my basic and advanced mountaineering courses. And I didn't do it with the goal to, pursue it as a profession or a career in a sense. But I just felt like if I have so much love for the mountains, I should also, it's my responsibility to learn more about them and to learn how I can be in them better, which is why I did my courses. So that was just like a random thing. And yeah, then so I've been working in the social developmental sector for the last like a dozen years. And then the pandemic hit, and then there was like there was like a disillusionment with my field of work. I didn't know if it was something that I enjoy or that's meaningful or purposeful. And I was just feeling a sense of detachment from that. And I was just randomly looking for other things, and this opportunity happened to come my way, which was I would say like perfect timing. Depending like in context to the life stage I was at and the time that we had like pandemic gave us a lot of time to just take a hit the pause button and reassess a lot of things. So I think it came at the right time. So yeah, I took it up, and like it's been great. Like the just the discovery of the intersection as well as the joy that I'm finding doing this has been it wasn't planned and it wasn't anticipated, but it's just been like a sheer coincidence. Like it almost seems like a gift.
Yeah, and I think the coolest thing about your job is that, see, if you work as a trek leader, you might have to repeat the trails. You might have to do for
Right,
one season, you might just do one trek. But when it comes to you, you're a
right,
writer, so your job is to basically explore and visit as many mountains as possible. So basically, you're not repeating
correct.
trek again, right?
Yeah,
So
correct. Which is also something that is that I think is a plus because I cannot do something twice. Like I would kill myself if I had to. I mean, there are some people who can get a lot from the same experience by experiencing it again, and they can keep continuing to find something new in it. But that's not my experience. Like if I do something, I feel like I just had to do it to feel like I could do it. Like if I probe into myself that I can do it, then I need to move on to the next thing. Like I can't do the same thing again. Which is also why I think I've been shifting a lot of like, within my workspace as well. I've like made a lot of shifts in terms of areas of work as well as departments, etc. So that I think the restlessness of doing the same thing, which is broadened my experience in a way, but yeah, I mean, it's also limiting in a way because you're not going extremely deep into something, but it's also liberating in a way because you get to go wider.
yeah, I think that's something that you mentioned even in our earlier
Hmm.
interaction, the
Right.
horizontal of growth, you just don't
Versus
go,
vertical growth.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. I
Right.
think that's an incredible point and a very fresh perspective, I feel. Because since we are kids, we are taught that focus on one thing, be really good at that, that very famous saying, Jack of all, master of
Hmm.
none, you know.
Hmm.
So why can't you just try out things for yourself? And I think you're doing it. That's really amazing.
Thanks. It's been working out well so far. Let's see how it goes going forward.
So, a couple of things as a writer in the mountains, what all peaks have you visited? And can you just give us the list of the places you've seen so far?
Okay, so basically the company operates in the entire Himalayan region, which is basically the Northeast, Uttarakhand, Himachal, Ladakh. And we are right now in the process of expanding to other mountain ranges. So that's something
Hmm.
exciting as well. But I've basically covered a lot of areas within all these states. The peaks I've climbed or visited as part of my job, but I started with Friendship Peak, which is a smaller expedition. Then my biggest like the highest I've been is 7,135 meters, which is Mount Noon, which was my next, which is where I developed, I think, a love for climbing versus trekking. So that was that experience. I would merit it to that experience. Um, then Zozongo, Chandrabhaga 13, Pangarchula, Mont Blanc is something I did on my own last August. So that, yeah, these are that's what I can think of right now. But yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask you about Friendship Peak because, if anyone's
Hmm.
starting their trekking journey or maybe trying to move ahead into the trekking journey, Friendship Peak is the first challenge you put yourself up to, generally. It's the most popular
Right.
experience, so to speak,
Hmm.
for beginners. So, but
Right.
you have written beautiful blog on it, like Unfinished Business on Friendship Peak. So I have to ask you about that. Just tell us the story of
Uh,
your first experience at Friendship.
Okay, so that was my first trek with the company. And basically, it had been really long since I had been outdoors on the mountains. The last was when I did my advanced mountaineering course in 2019, in the September of 2019. As a part of that, we climbed a 6,000-meter peak, Kullev Kangdi. So when I was supposed to go to Friendship Week, I didn't, in my vanity of like believing that, oh, I've gone to 6,000, like 5,000 is nothing, it should be easy for me. So I didn't like really like look into the challenges before I went there. And clearly that it came to bite me in the ass in the end. But basically, I didn't make it to the top. I made it till the shoulder, and like which is 300 meters below the summit, and then I had to turn back because firstly I was extremely sleepy. Like I was so sleep deprived, I couldn't keep my eyes open, and I was just like uh, fumbling all the way through. So that wasn't a good sign because we were all roped up. The entire team was roped up together. So one person is attached to the other, to the other, to the other, like that. So if I fall, everyone falls. And that's not like, I have to think about the team as well and not be selfish enough to say that, it's okay. Like I'm just going to power through and still do this. So I think that's a little bit irresponsible, which is also why I had to turn back. And the other thing was that once we reached there's a certain vertical wall. It's about like 55 to 60 degrees, which you have to climb to get to the pole of the mountain.
Mm.
And while I was climbing that, I kind of slipped and I went rolling down the mountain for for like some 10-15 seconds. I don't know how long. and and then like I was almost like I was caught in like a shameful thing. I got up and I didn't know what to do in that situation. Like in theory, we've learned how to self arrest, how to use your ice axe, whatever. But there had been no opportunity to do it practically in a situation where your mind is already on an overdrive, thinking that you're falling into space, right? So so the first few seconds, I was just like very dumbstruck as to what to do. And then I suddenly, like, I saw my ice axe was looped into my hand and I saw that it was following me obediently. So then I sort of held on to that and I used that to self arrest and turn myself around. And I got up and I looked around to see that no one. I hope no one saw that because I was really ashamed. And then I climbed up like really quickly, like, oh, nothing happened. I'm fine. So, but it sort of like shook me a little bit. So yeah, like
Mm.
so yeah, just like, when I came down, I had a lot to reflect on as to, it's not about what height you've hit and like it doesn't matter what your experience is. Each mountain is different and you need to give it that level of respect. And you need to make that experience about that and not about who you basically shouldn't be arrogant towards any climb. Yeah, that was an extremely important lesson, I think, on that expedition, which also probably helped me on my next one, which was Mount Noon, where I actually did make it to the summit because I didn't I I had to learn to let go of that vanity and build a sense of humility.
You laughed a lot about this while narrating this. It must be very scary when it happened.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it actually was really scary because then when I rolled down the mountain, it was all ice, right? So my face was like, my face and my body, every exposed part of my body had brushed against that ice. And that was like when I got up, it was extremely windy. So the icy like wind, uh, it was
Mm.
literally searing my skin, like it was burning really badly. So that was the slap in the face I needed, I think. That was the mountain's way of telling me, okay, this is your place. So yeah, in a way, it was a good experience. I think it is a known fact and it's established. It's not a secret that the sports industry as a whole and climbing as a specific subset of that is considered very is considered to be um for men. Like, like men are supposed to be athletic, men are supposed to be sporting, men are supposed to be strong. So those are things that, like, that's not a secret. Like, we know that that is an established fact within our society that sports are for men. And something as precarious as climbing then is doubly so, right? And it's still a newer field where women are still trying to navigate their space. But I think that is coming uh, because of the awareness about it, and because we are talking about it more in the recent times. Plus, there is a established infrastructure available now. We have like mountaineering institutes where you can, which are nominally priced and can be afforded by anyone, and they're not gender specific. They welcome everyone, right? So the infrastructure is available, the opportunity is available. It's just about like going out there and doing it. And the more we do it, the more we, make space for ourselves within that landscape. So I think it's just about like more women coming out and doing this. But I also know that that's not easy because it didn't start out as a level playing field, right? Men are much advanced in the opportunities they got socially as well as infrastructurally and financially. So women have had to fight a lot on all of these fronts. But there are options available now, and I think it should be like a collaborative approach. Even so, when I was doing my advanced mountaineering course, I had to, like the proportion of men to women was very high. So like we had it was a group of 45, I think, and we were only 9 women, and the rest of the group was all men, right? And there were sexist remarks like of all sorts, like so we have to wash our own vessels after we finish eating. So men would be like, why don't you guys just wash our vessels? That's your job anyway. And then like things like, oh, do you have lip balm? Like, and I would be like, no, I don't. And they would be like, okay, aren't you a woman? And I was like, you need a lip balm. Just get your own lip balm. Like, you have lips. What do you mean? So I'm not the only one who has lips. Like, I don't even need it. You need it. You're asking for it. You don't have it. What is the confusion here? So just like, all these like gendered comments are supposed to be like they're so normalized within our culture that they're just supposed to we're supposed to take it as funny when they're not actually, because you're propagating a certain stereotype. And and you're not making letting it be an individual experience. You're making it like into a you're stereotyping it to like say you're a woman and this is what you're capable of doing because this is what women are capable of doing. So that narrative has to slowly change, but I think it's like a painfully slow process, but I am hopeful that we are moving in the right direction. But I also feel like I think the approach should be collaborative and uh, not not in the way of a protest or a rebellion, because we know that the intention may not be wrong. It's just that we are so used to a certain narrative that to bring our narrative and our needs into focus, we need to talk more. Like if I am working in this company, I cannot just expect them to know what I need them to do differently so that I feel welcomed, right?
And things may sound funny, but we don't have to be like really aggressive about things because people are just trying to practice what they learned for so many years, you know.
Right. So I think so. Basically, what I was saying earlier was that we need to build a more collaborative approach and not a more aggressive approach, where we start at the baseline that the intention is right, and then we need to identify our own needs and be able to voice our needs and put them at the table to be for them to be taken up and see how we are integrated into the system. So I think like if we take like this, I don't think it should be men versus women and why don't you know what the right thing to do is. They don't know. Like, let's just start at they don't know because they've never had to deal with these things before. These are newer areas even for them to learn and navigate, like it is for us to learn and navigate. So I think the more we work together, that is going to determine our journey going forward.
I think that was a very important point, rather than looking at it as a battle, if you just
Right.
calmly navigate through this issue, it's this challenge, I think
Hmm.
you'll be able to achieve more as a humankind. Both parties can
Right.
get advantages through this, I
Right.
feel.
Right. And that is not to take away from the fact that there is high levels of bias and high levels of sexism in the industry right now, and that it's not excusable, but it's also something that needs to be looked at from a corrective lens and not as a complaint. So yeah, I think that is what is important.
So if you were to list out a few like few pointers, what can you say is like this is based on this bias thinking?
I actually have a lot of so it's just like simple things, okay? Simple things like so I usually cut my hair off. I usually go bald or have like really tiny hair when I'm going in the mountains because
Convenience,
it's
yeah.
just easier to
Yeah.
manage. Yeah. So like every time, so if I'm able to achieve something which men think is like a male thing to do, they are like, yeah, you're not a woman. You're just one of us. You're a man. Look at your hair. And I was like, okay, but like, did you miss a biology class? Because I don't think that's what determines men versus women. Like, maybe you need to go back to school. So I don't know. So stuff like that. And just like if you're able to be like, assertive or courage or what they consider courageous, and they're like, no, you're not like other women. You're just like you are one of us. Like you who says we have a woman on the team? No, you are not a woman. I'm like, okay, right, but I don't want to be a man. That is, that's not what I want. So yeah, a lot of like, a lot of like these small things which seem funny, but they're actually very annoying. And just like, it's in the same cartoon, like where you read the post. It's every time that I'm on a difficult level trek or expedition, I'm usually the only woman, right? And I'm like surrounded by all these men. And then men just bring out their dicks and they just start peeing. And I'm just like, it's like I have like a circle of men pissing around me. And I'm just like, what? Okay. What? Can you just like walk a distance? I mean, this is not okay. So even I feel like even if I wasn't there, they shouldn't even be doing this around each other, right? Like I think equality comes from that mindset that okay, if is this something that the other person can do as well? If you are okay with me standing there and me sitting now, kneeling down and pissing, okay, be my guest, do it. But if you're going to be uncomfortable, then you have to think about that this is not equality. You may say all the right things and the radical things and be all liberal, but if you're not taking care of these small things, then I'm sorry, then you're not believing in equality in any way. So yeah, just things like that. Just extremely hilarious. But this one time I got my revenge. So there's this one on CP13, on one of the campsites, there isn't enough space. Okay. So there's like the advanced base camp is just like we set up two camps. That was the only flat space there was. Like
You took a revenge at particular.
so I got my perfect revenge. Like, so on CB13, the advanced base camp, one of the camps is one of the higher camps right below the summit. That's like very little space. Okay, we set up two camps, and that was the only flat space there was. One step ahead of that was like one slope going up to the summit, and and if you take two steps here, then there's like a 60-degree slope going down from where we came up. So that was the only flat space. Okay, and then men are just like peeing and whatever. So I didn't have like space and stuff. So I had to literally either go down and find a rock or whatever. I don't know. Like I had to do something. So I was like, I am too tired for this shit. So I came out of the tent and I sat like just behind the tent. There was a rock. I just sat there and I was pissing. And there was a guy just like he was trying to go from his tent to my our tent. And he was walking by and he looked at me and he's like, oh, and then he like shyly turned around and he's like, then he turned around his back to me and then he was like asking me, are you doing something? And I was like, yeah, I'm done now. And he was so uncomfortable. He just walked back to his tent and I was like, yes, victory to me. Now you feel awkward. I'm not going to feel awkward. so, so yeah, I think that was one sweet victory moment for me where I was able to make someone uncomfortable for once. So yeah, I think it's also been a long journey for me to find my own comfort with my body as well, right? Because it's such a physical sport and you're so like physically involved and you have to be mindful of all your physical aspects. So like that has been like a journey for me as well to get comfortable with my body and just to accept it the way it is designed because I know that it is designed to serve a specific purpose and I should just be learn to be okay with that. So that's also something that so actually, if you've read the Non Wala article, it's also where I speak about like my gendered experience and how I came to get comfortable with within my own skin, because I've usually been someone who's had like this battle with gender of sorts. Like I don't fit into the fully feminine, but I also don't fit into the fully masculine, and I'm just like constantly trying to navigate that space as to where I stand. So, so on Nun, it so happened that I like got my period right around the time when we were going to start. Like when we reached Tambol, when we reached Kargil, um, that is when I got my period, and like because it was so secluded from everything else, and uh, because it had to be dealt with at that point, it also became like public, and then like it was just like everybody knew about it and stuff, and it was so embarrassing for me at first, but just to know that people were reacting to it just normally. Like I mean, I'm not embarrassed to get periods, but basically I was just, it was really really bad, and I usually don't have like bad periods, or like really, I don't have like a heavy flow or whatever, and they're pain free usually. But this one was extremely excruciating, and it was like so bad. Like I had to change my pad every hour or so. And initially, when I got it, I didn't even know that I got it because it wasn't time. So then I
Mm.
stained the entire bus seat and stuff. So it was basically everyone knew, and I was just staining every place I was going, and it was paining. Like my stomach was hurting a lot and stuff. So then, which is why it became like known to everyone. And then just everyone reacting to it normally just gave me like that confidence to just be okay with it. So I think like that also, like I didn't have to hide behind like the gender dysmorphia at that point, and I was just okay with like, okay, this is how my body functions, and that's fine. Like, people are aware of it, and it's okay to to be like that or to experience this. So yeah, I think like all of those things, when you can't hide behind something, when you actually have to deal with it head on, there is no other option but to do that. I think that that is something that I have gained from climbing, I would say.
Mm. I love that. Thank you for sharing that because, sometimes women don't like to talk about these things as if something is wrong with them, and
Mm,
they get to acknowledge that it's part of your life cycle, right? So it's
mm.
very normal, just like you breathe. So why you have to hide? Why do you still have to like wrap your pads around like in a newspaper bag or a dark color bag, hide it from the world?
Yeah.
Don't have to do it. Don't have to do it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember in school when we used to have to hide it in a if we had to go to the washroom to change our pad, we would like hide it in like a notebook paper or something and put it in our like pockets and then go. And I was like, huh, those were also the days. Like, okay, that's what we were doing then. And maybe that's not what we need to do now. So
Yeah, things are
yeah.
changing. Like it's now absolutely
Hmm.
normal. I feel in some places though, like if you speak about this differently, you are called an idiot basically. It's okay, na? It's part of your life, but a big deal of it. Like, yeah,
Yeah, but I think everyone's on their journey of coming to terms with it. Like it took me this to sort of reconcile with the fact, like, and be okay with it. So yeah, I think each of us are on our individual journeys to getting comfortable with it. But the more we talk about it, obviously that journey is going to speed up that much more.
yeah. And I think, you've been very vocal about these issues through your cartoons as well. So I want to ask you about that. How did you actually start sketching and
Hmm.
how what's the artist side of you? How did you discover it? And you're a published author, right? You have a book in your name. So tell us
Yeah.
about that as well.
Oh, okay. So like I said, I needed different ways of expressing myself. So I started out like really early on. I used to draw like Disney cartoons and stuff and make like birthday cards for my family members or whatever. Like that's what I used to do, and I used to dream about like working at Disney at some point. But then I realized it's more to that than just like tracing out Goofy on a paper. So yeah, and at some point I let go of that dream. But yeah, and then like I feel like I've found a different medium of expression with each crisis. So yeah, okay, maybe I should talk a little bit about this myth of tortured artist. I do feel like, I have, there's this belief that if you're the more tortured you are, the better artist you are, and all of that. And I do say that, like, I found writing, I found poetry, I found sketching, and I found cartooning at different points in life, each starting with a crisis, right? So, although I do believe you can be a happy artist, but I just, I feel like, so positive emotions get a lot of release, and because it's encouraged and it's appreciated in society, like, you are encouraged to share positive emotions like happiness or whatever. But like
Mm,
negative emotion, the release for negative emotions is not that welcoming. And like, we're told to not be negative or not express something which is heavy or whatever. So I think, like, then art becomes that medium of sort of pouring out that emotion in a certain format which can be received better by the audience. It's a better way to put it out in the world. Like, it's a more accepted way to put it out in the world, which is why, like, I
mm,
think this entire thing of the tortured artist sort of still prevails. Uh, so yeah, I think, like, I found each of these things at a different point in my life with different crises at different points. Cartooning, I found during I actually I never drew comics before, but during the pandemic, I just, like, it was really overwhelming, right? Like it was for everyone else, because, like, there was so much change suddenly. So, like, it was hard to, like, keep a track of, like, how I'm feeling each day, right? Like each day was like a peak of a different emotion. So it was like really hard to, like, keep like a track of how you're feeling or just reflect on that. So I think I just started doing that as a way of journaling or reflecting on how
mm,
I'm feeling. So I used to draw like a cartoon at the end of each day, and, like, just to sort of see what emotion comes out. I also didn't know what I was feeling. I would look at the cartoon and then realize, oh, that's probably how I was feeling. And it's like so reflective, right? Like, so that is when I started drawing cartoons. And that is also, like, I used to do, so I made it a point to do one cartoon each day.
mm,
So that's something I did through the course of the pandemic, and the book actually is based on these cartoons that I made through the course of the pandemic. Because I realized, like, I used to share it with my therapist, and we used to do like this double blind study sort of thing. Like, we used to do it like the ink blot test. So I would do something, and then I would ask her to, like, tell me how she perceives it, and then I would tell her how I perceive it, and then we found, like, there is so much commonality between emotions and the way we experience emotions. So, which is what the theme of our entire book is, which I've written in collaboration with my sister, who's a therapist, and my friend, who's a therapist. So that forms the basis of uh, the book as well. So yeah, that is when I found comics, and I've just, like, I feel really grateful that I have a way of. Also, I feel like even like this job and, like, being an artist is just perfectly aligned to my personality, because to me, I have to put the experience out in order for me to make it a reality even for myself. So if I experience a trek, or if I have a thought, the minute I translate it into a comic is is me engaging with that thought, and that thought becoming a reality, and then I can reflect more on that basis, that so that becomes my starting point. So similarly for treks, right? If I'm going and climbing a mountain, if I write about it, that experience becomes real for me. So I would anyway be doing it, but now since I'm on the job, now I have a reason to do it even more. So that's what, like, art has been for me. Like, I need to put it out there in a certain format for it to become a reality.
yeah, and I would request everyone to check out your Instagram profile because it's one of the best profiles you'll find. And lovely, lovely sketches and lovely cartoons. It's really amazing. Yesterday I was scrolling through your profile. I didn't even realize it was 3.5 hours. And I forgot what mountaineering stuff I was supposed to
Oh,
ask you, and I just so engrossed. Lovely. I'm also
I think
gonna
that's the
order
most
your book.
flattering thing I've heard till now.
Yeah, I'm really, really being
So thank
genuinely
you.
interested. And I'm someone who doesn't understand like art. I understand music, but I won't say I understand painting or that kind of a thing, sculptures.
Hmm.
But I like what I like, so I really enjoyed this profile. So thank you
Thank
for
you so much. I'm really glad that it's resonating at some level because that's the purpose, right? It should resonate with whoever's looking at it.
yeah. And in terms of art is great, but in terms of messaging is more powerful. So I think you're doing incredible work with your art and your current job, both of it.
Yay! Thank you.
So what's next for you? What's on your list now?
So recently, my role has seen a little bit of a shift where it's become broader in the sense that now I'm not only part of the content team, but I'm part of the exploration team, which means that I'm part of the team which is responsible to hunt out newer treks and trails and just like expand the playground, so to speak. So yeah, like that's on the agenda. So we are also looking at international mountain ranges and things that we can do open there, as well as within India, what are the newer trails that we can open. So the next thing on the agenda is basically going to northeast and looking at trekking options and outdoor activity options there. So that's happening sometime in April. That's what's next.
I think Northeast has all these hidden gems which no one's ever known about and no one's ever been to. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be really incredible for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, because it's not as easily accessible as the north of our, like, Himachal, Uttarakhand, or Ladakh, because it's just a little bit harder to access. I
Hmm.
think that sort of like has, uh, we've not been able to explore as much there, but like, I think like, which is why it becomes even more special because it's untouched and like you there is so much to see and experience which hasn't been experienced yet. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, I remember my friend, she works in science, so she had done a project in
Mm.
Northeast where she had
Hmm.
studied butterflies in Northeast. And like the
Oh,
range of
nice.
diversity you have over there, you have
Hmm.
literally nothing common between what you have here in Western castes. So basically it's totally different.
Hmm.
So it's a different world,
Right.
even though it's in the same country.
Yeah.
Yeah, Northeast is something that's just also on my list. So yeah, I'm gonna
Maybe
stay
you can
tuned
come
for
with
your
me. Yeah.
so last question I want to ask you to end this podcast is Neeti, what's your superpower?
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question because I don't have an answer for that. So, but let me think. Um, I would think that my ability to just adapt and like not be afraid of experiencing something completely different from what I'm used to. That I think has given me a lot of opportunity, and that also I think helps me build like a certain character within myself. So just like we were talking about horizontal versus vertical growth. So like I think because I'm able to like grow horizontally and like not be and because I don't have a set goal in mind, like I'm not like, okay, I want to climb Everest. And then once I've done that, then there's nothing else to do, right? Like so I don't want to limit myself with a goal. So I'm not stuck. Like if that is not happening, I can't move forward. If this is not happening, then oh, I've not achieved my goal. All that anxiety is not there because I don't have a defined goal. Like I'm very fluid with that. So just because of that, I'm able to jump from one thing to the next with a lot of ease, which also has given me a lot of perspective in terms of I'm able to find intersectionalities between different things, right? Like how we were speaking about it before, like, the athletes that I come across are just that they are athletes, right? And they pump in so much time and energy and everything just becoming the best athlete that they can become, which is very admirable. But for me, that is not like I don't want to be the best at anything. So I'm not like trying to achieve or work towards a goal. So I'm just always ready for the next thing, like whatever it may be. And then how that helps is because I'm able to draw from all my previous experience. So that makes me good at the newer thing also I pick up with just
Mhm.
as much comfort. So I think, yeah, like that's also something that I look to do, like find intersectionalities and see how psychology connects into writing, writing connects into climbing, climbing connects into art, how gender connects into all of these different things, how education comes into play, how what has been like the experience across socioeconomic cultures. So, like a lot of that, like my education and psychology, my work in the developmental sector within different spheres. Like, so I've worked with sex, gender, sexuality. I've worked in CSR. I've worked in education, violence against women. Then I've worked
Mhm.
in like a startup. Then now I'm working in the climbing space, like the adventure industry space. So I think I'm
Yeah.
just like that. That each experience is helping me grow. Like it's not like I'm starting from, if I'm doing something new, that doesn't mean I'm starting from scratch. I also still have a lifetime full of experience and perspective from before, which I can bring into this new thing, which the other people will not have because they've only stuck to one thing, doing one thing. So I think that that is something that I could call my superpower. I don't know if that's a superpower, but yeah.
I think it is cool, to be really comfortable with what you to have that much clarity in your head versus the noises constantly, coming into your space and telling you to do things. You're very clear in your head about
Oh,
what you want
I
to do.
have
Yeah.
no, no, that's not true. I have a million voices in my head. But it's just that I don't like let that stop me from like trying something new. So if I was um someone who limited myself in that capacity, I would be like, oh no, I've worked in the developmental sector for like 12 years of my life. Then how can I suddenly change my field and like go into writing and adventure sports, which I have zero experience with, right? Like, and that would feel like a really scary thought. But since I'm okay, like within the developmental sector, I didn't have a set goal that I want to, achieve this. I want to see children uh, improve their learning outcomes by 10% within the next 10 years, or that's not a goal that I have. So I'm able to take draw from my experience and perspective that I built through that, but still carry it forward into the next venture. So yeah, but I do have a million voices in my head, and they don't shut up. I've tried.
On that note, I've decided to shut up, let you go because you have plans. Thanks for being here and for
This was
sharing so
so
much
much
big
fun.
experience.
This is so fun. Thank you so much, Kalyani. I look forward to more
Yeah,
of this and seeing
sure,
more of your
definitely.
podcasts.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it for a consistent period of time. That's my goal. Let's see how it works out.
Yeah. I think it's going to be great. Like you have like a set structure for it and you make like the person so comfortable. Usually I'm not really, I would stick to being behind the camera, but I think you made me comfortable enough to, at least even try this. So I'm really grateful to you for that.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you for being so kind.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much.